All right, Melania by Melania Trump. This is the memoir written by the soon-to-be First Lady again, First Lady-elect Melania Trump. We've just finished election season. She released this book in the midst of election season, and it's the #1 New York Times bestseller. I mean, everybody's been reading this thing. And in summary, I really liked it. I thought it was well written. I thought that if she wrote it, she's got a great writing style. If she had a ghostwriter, they did a great job. The details that she reveals were really cool. And she starts in her childhood. She takes us through her entire life. We get a lot of travel stories as First Lady. She goes to Africa. She goes to Egypt. She takes solo trips and talks about her Be Best campaign, which is anti-cyberbullying. And so she goes through her travels pretty extensively. She talks very little about the office itself in regards to Donald Trump, which was nice because you get more of her story and what she was involved with. Now, there are some subject matters that she covers that involve the presidency, which I thought were really, really neat to see a behind-the-scenes look at how they handled the hurricane, how they handled COVID, their private thoughts around these subjects during those times, about how they should handle it. The border, she visited the border to see how families were being separated and how they should handle that situation, and she gives her perspective on all of that. And she's also very open about how she will sometimes disagree with Donald Trump, and they will discuss things and come to terms, and he will open his eyes or it will open her eyes, and it's kind of an always back and forth exchange, which is a great thing. It's pretty neat, kind of a cool pulled behind the curtain look at how they operate together. So another part that I found very interesting was her details on the inauguration day. I mean, how many memoirs do you get to read that detail the entire process from start to finish of staying in the Blair House, redecorating the White House once you get there, the transition time of moving into the White House, how you're granted access, when you're granted access, what options you have in terms of decorating the White House. It's very, very interesting. She also talks about remodel and renovation projects that she did at the White House, like the tennis court, redoing the movie theater, I believe, a whole bunch of different rooms, and of course designing Barron's room to be the first boy in the White House for many years. So you go through all of that. I just thought overall it was a really cool peek behind the curtain. She's generally very private, doesn't give interviews very often at all. So to get sort of a big dump of information from her is valuable because you don't see very much of her. So this contains a lot of information compared to what she normally shares, and I found that very interesting. I thought it was well written. It kept my interest. I read the book in maybe 2 or 3 hours. I mean, it was quick. I was flying through it. It's got great, too. I'll show some of these pictures of her childhood. So many things we didn't know about her modeling career, how she got started in Slovenia and then moved to Milan and Paris and then finally New York where she meets Donald Trump. Talks about how they met, which was kind of an interesting relationship with their age difference and what it meant to her and how they got along. I mean, it really covered a whole lot. I'm trying to think while I've got it here. Yeah, I particularly loved the coverage of moving into the White House, which I found interesting. You know, she did reveal that the Obamas did not invite them at the standard time. Generally, you get invited to the White House sometime in December to, they let the future First Lady in to start to arrange things and make arrangements for their family members, their children, in Barron's case, to decorate the rooms and get everything ready. And she did mention that Barack and Michelle did not extend the invitation to them, and so they were not allowed to go into the White House, and it delayed their moving time and their renovation time. And when they got access to the White House, they were having to move things rather than already moved in, which is standard protocol and tradition, and thought that was kind of interesting. So, you know, little details like that you'll find interesting. So overall, very good book. I would read it again. I would read it again maybe after this next 4 years because we'll have learned more about them. We've seen more about them. Maybe she'll do another memoir after this presidency. But for now, this was an excellent book. I do highly recommend it and find it very interesting. I don't know if I'd keep it, of course, but I would read it one more time. But this is Melania by Melania Trump.